Hello, everyone. Welcome to TradesPost office hours for October 11th, 2024. Always a pleasure to be here. My name is Tom Hartman, working for the marketing team here at TradesPost, and I'm here as ever with Mike Christensen, CSO, and CEO John Wage. How's it going?
Doing well, Tom. How are you doing this week?
I have been elbow deep in AI stuff. It's just been, I guess I just didn't realize that I wasn't using. I wasn't using AI to the best of my abilities.
It's
So I was
crazy
like,
how many different ways you can use it. I mean, like I was telling you earlier, it's the applications are endless. But tell me what you've been working on this week.
So I've been I was scratching my head. You know how it is with new tools or what have you. When I was trying to build something that I needed to build, I couldn't build it properly, and then I just said to myself, just give myself a night, build something completely out of the blue, like that I don't need for retail trading at all. And then I learned everything that I need to learn in order to build a different app. And so what I'm hoping to go through later on in office hours is essentially building up a very crude and simple dashboard that will go through, look at news items, recent news items online, and then use AI in order to generate a sentiment analysis, and then trade futures contracts on the major indices accordingly. So we'll see how that goes. And it should be fun. But my God, it was so much fun to try and do. John, you've been using Cursor AI, right? Because you're the one who introduced me to it. Are you using it regularly?
Yeah, my daily driver. I switched entirely to. I was using VS Code, so it was an easy switch. But I guess it's been about a year now. But I just switched to VS Code from Sublime Text about a year
Same
ago.
here.
Yeah, which is funny to think about because you were on Sublime for so long. I've been on VS Code for like almost a decade now. And John gave VS Code a run for about a year before he was like, oh no, Cursor AI is way better. Had to convince me. The only reason I didn't use Cursor AI is because it didn't have good WSL2 support on Windows. So I could actually run a Linux environment, which is of course the only like true way to develop in a proper way on a Windows environment. And then they fixed it like a month and a half ago or 2 months ago, and now Cursor is my daily driver as well.
Yeah, before Sublime Text, I used TextMate. I don't know if you guys ever heard of that one.
Text Notepad, is that what you're using?
No, TextMate. It was like a Mac only app that was like super popular for like 2000s and 2010. And then I switched to Sublime Text, and I couldn't ever get off of Sublime Text because Sublime Text was just so fast. And I like just plain bare bones editors. And tried several other editors that are like fully featured, but they're just so slow. I just can't stand when the mouse and clicks and the keyboard reaction is just so slow.
Yeah, that's what I hated about Eclipse. Eclipse is a giant, terrible IDE written in Java. And prior to that, though, and this will age me, I was on Dreamweaver. And I used Dreamweaver for a long time.
What about before that? Even before Dreamweaver, I was on HomeSite. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Oh no,
one.
I didn't use.
I started with Dreamweaver. Yeah,
I started with the Notepad. I would literally edit things manually.
And HomeSite was acquired by Macromedia, if I remember right, and then they kind of sunset it, and then it just got incorporated into Macromedia Dreamweaver. Jonathan DS19 asked, did you pay for Sublime? I did pay for Sublime. I mean, the value you get is so cheap. Totally makes sense to pay for it.
Oh yeah, that was one of my number one purchases, and then there was like no reason not to do that. I tried Atom for a while. That wasn't.
I tried that one too.
Yeah, I heard Atom. Yeah,
and that one crazy was written by the CEO of GitHub before the Microsoft acquisition, which I thought.
I didn't know that.
So cool.
Interesting.
The CEO and founder of GitHub was responsible for Atom. Yep.
Well, Cursor, what's great about it and why I want to show it on the show is that with a rudimentary knowledge of AI, and frankly, even if you don't know anything about coding, you can actually get crazy things done as long as you're okay with the fly bumping against the window until it finds the exit. If you're willing to do that, it'll actually explain to you what you don't understand so that you actually go and look it up, which has always been the shortcoming to me. I don't want to sit around reading a bunch of docs because if I try the initial version of an app and within 10 minutes I don't have something that makes me feel ooh, I'm gone. I'm gonna look at the keys jingling somewhere else. But Cursor is keys jingling everywhere. It's just fantastic.
I feel like with Cursor, and I'm also using v0.dev just every day. The thing is unbelievable. I mean,
Yeah.
I used to have to like get advice from designers and stuff, and like now I just have an AI tool that I can bounce ideas off with, and it's never perfect, but like you're not really looking for like the perfect design. You're looking more for like the inspiration, and it's kind of like almost back of the napkin crayon level drawing of it, but it's enough to get an idea of like how the element should be placed and all the high level details. And then I go and implement it with Tailwind CSS. It's been total game changer.
Yeah, I love it. I'm also finding that we can improve a lot of how we use AI with more contextual information. So like I've been feeding a lot more of Cursor AI context that it doesn't even have in the source code by just bringing in more markdown files that explain how things work. And that helps a lot too. Bringing that context in is obviously key. In fact, there was an article recently that was talking about the acquisition of case law by Thomson Reuters and why they paid $650 million for this technology. And the big part of it is that case law had figured out how to reduce the number of hallucinations down to 0. And the key to the work that they did there was that they had basically what I would consider AI unit tests, all these evaluations that were made on each of the responses to make sure that the response was accurate. And it just got me thinking a lot about how we can sort of fine tune our AI environments. Context matters a great deal, and you really want to push it through a lot of tests to make sure that how it responds is accurate.
So before we close out office hours, I did want to, my plan was to run through actually developing just a quick dashboard in Cursor AI for how you can send signals to TradersPost for sentiment analysis. But we don't have time for that right now. I'll do a video for that and then post it on the channel. But what I would love to do is to show you the test that I did beforehand.
Sure.
I'll share my screen real quick here. All right. So the idea here was that I wanted a dashboard that essentially I used Cursor AI to create a Next.js app. So I just ask it what to do and then step through and just click on the buttons to run or apply whatever it asks me to run and apply. I find obeying the rules or whatever AI tells me to do is very on brand with the type of person that I am. I take very well to authority, so this works pretty well. So I go through there, and then as it generates the app, I then talk to it and say, hey, I need you to do this, I need you to do that. So for example, as I was going through, this is Cursor AI over here that we're seeing. And I had, if I ever had errors, if I ever wanted to have new features or what have you, I would just tell Cursor AI what I needed it to do. I would tell it either to look through the entire code base or certain files, or I would use the composer to ask it to do certain things, and then it would go through all the different files and fix it accordingly. And because it's locally on my computer, it would update live. And so here on the left side, I have all the latest news or that I can easily access with an API. The thing is, I didn't know how I could access news items, but the AI. So I asked the system, the AI system, well, how can I access recent news? And it said, oh, well, you can just use I think it was called News API, which I didn't know existed. And it's free. You can get an API key, and then it told me how to set it up. I set it up in my environment variables, and then boom, next thing you know, I have the list here. I told AI how many I wanted to see, that I wanted to be filtered specifically for news items that had to do with these indexes, these indices, and that I wanted a refresh button here in order to pull new news items. Then once that was set up, I wanted to have market sentiment on the right. And so I said, hey, come up with something for market sentiment. There was like all kinds of different versions. I went with this one. And I said, initially, I wanted to figure out a way of myself of figuring out what the sentiment was, until I realized I could just have one AI help my other AI. I said, here's my OpenAI key. Send all the headlines from the news items to OpenAI, have it do a sentiment analysis and send it back to me, and then generate a score accordingly, which it then did. Once that score is then created, I then asked it to add input where it could put the the webhook URL in for TradesPost. So for TradesPost, we need, for the strategy, we need to get the webhook URL here to send the signal to, which I did. And then I pasted in and I said, hey, I want to be able to put the JSON payloads automatically. So I gave it in cursor, you can either do at web and then put a link. In this case, I put a link to the TradersPost doc. Oh, oops. So I can just grab the link for the TradersPost doc for webhook and then toss that into here if I wanted it to reference it, or if I know that I'm going to be referencing it again and again, and I don't want to have to pull that information each time. In Composer, I could go ahead and oh, a second here. Under Notes, I created a note with TradersPost docs, and I just copied and pasted the doc information here, so that when I am talking to the chat, I could always just refer to TradesPost docs, and that way it knows the format and what have you. Is it perfect? No, but it's good enough in order to get me where I need to go. And then, and so what I wanted to do was to automatically set the JSON payloads here, and to change the actions according to if it's bullish, bearish, or neutral, and to have different notes. And then here I added a send button. So if I send, let's say, this NQ contract, it'll send over, it'll confirm that it's been sent. And if I go to the TradersPost logs, I'll be able to see that that was just sent in right now.
That's crazy. That's cool.
And these are buttons that I put on the chart just for the sake of our conversation here. But I could easily have asked it to create a cron job or whatever vague terms I want to use to say automatically do this once a day. Mm-hmm. So that at the beginning of the day or the beginning of the trading session, it will then go ahead and open up the contract.
Yeah, so, this is really cool. It kind of makes me wonder if you could, since we're on the subject of market sentiment, I would just crawl the fear and greed index on what is that, on CNN?
What about just look at the moon cycle and just full moon, you go full port, baby.
Go short in extreme greed and go long in extreme fear. Effectively, that sort of counterintuitive approach, but or contrarian approach, rather. That's the right word for it. But I mean, even just crawling that page and like setting up the webhook that way, that would work as well. What I'm impressed with a couple of things here. Like, one is I think this exemplifies better how diverse you can get with your signal source to send to TradersPost. We're not just limited to TradingView or TrendSpider. I've seen people set up webhooks from Spreadsheets, from your new code here in Cursor AI. I've seen it done in Zapier triggers. Like, there's a lot of really cool ways. Oh, and this week I just finished up all the work to get webhooks set up properly in MT5, MetaTrader 5. So there's just so many different ways to make your integration work. However you want to automate things, like because it's a webhook, it's really kind of a universal adapter to whatever communication platform you want to use. But I love this use of AI as well. I was going to highlight that when I was working for a subsidiary of S&P Global, I built a whole news API way before AI, and would have wished that I had some of the resources that you just put together there, because I was doing all kinds of stuff the long and hard way, and you built this thing in like a week.
Related to what you built, Tom.
This I built in 2 hours.
Yeah, that just makes me feel sad. I spent 6 months on an API. So
I remember early on in the early days of TradersPost, I remember a customer made like a custom desktop app, and it was a very simple like trading app, like a very like large buy green button and a red sell button, and he would have TradingView up on half the screen and then this other app on the other, and it just made it really simple to basically buy and sell with manual, without any other noise.
Yeah.
He had all his configurations preset, so he didn't have to worry about position size or calculating quantities. It just all did it automatically, added the stop losses and take profits, and all he had to worry about was just pressing the button. That was it.
Where's your buy Bitcoin button, by the way?
I know I haven't done it yet, but I still think it's a good idea. I want to like hook up. I have this single button. I want to figure out a way to hack that, and I could just like paint on, buy another $5 worth of Bitcoin.
Well, now everybody thinks they know who Satoshi Nakamoto is, so we need a little sound clip from him, and he'll just say some sound bite every time you hit it.
What I want to try is to do I have a time tracker on my computer that tracks everything that I do, and I would love to be able to just use this an AI system like this, and I think I probably do that. That if I'm particularly productive, that it's rewarded by buying a certain amount of Bitcoin or whatever. And I just love the idea of sitting on my computer, and as I'm working, it goes ding, and it purchases some shares of Tesla or whatever, and I get a message that says, "You were so productive today. Here you go. You get 2 shares of Tesla." And when I see it's use cases like that I find the most entertaining for me, that go beyond what people might normally use in TradingView or TrendSpider and stuff like that.